everybody. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Tiffany. I currently teach at Babb Middle School, and that's located in Forest Park, Georgia. Today I'm here to present to you the overview of the data that I've collected from my school, so I'm getting ready to do my data presentation. The story that I chose to focus on in the creation of my data presentation was a little internet could, a little old childhood favorite. So, I'm going to read an excerpt from the story. Chug, chug, chug. Puff, puff, puff. Ding dong, ding dong. The little train rumbled over the tracks. She was a happy little train, for she had such a jolly load to carry. Her cars were filled full of good things for boys and girls. So oftentimes the teachers start the school year off just like this little train started the school year off. We often come overjoyed to receive our new students. We have so much knowledge that we want to deliver them and give to them, and then things start to change. We start to take an overview and a look of things that happened in the past or the past years or the last year that didn't quite work well, and then our energy starts to decline. So my storyline for today is I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. So as we go over this data, we have to keep it in the back of the mind as no we can't, but I think I can, and so eventually I know I can. So we know we can get these students to where they need to be successful citizens of the world. So who are we? We are Babb Bulldogs. So if you ever come to Clayton County, you step foot in Forest Park, stop by Babb Middle School. You'll see it everywhere. We are Babb Bulldogs. So who are Babb Bulldogs? Babb Bulldogs consist of, we're the melting pot of Clayton County, okay? We have a high Hispanic population of about 43%. Our next highest population would be our African American students, who range about 37%. We then have our Asians, 12%, our white population, or Caucasians, 6%, and then our multiracial students pull in the rear with 2%. We have approximately 847 students that are that's at our school, that are enrolled at our school. So if you look at this, might be my favorite chart of everything that I found in regards to looking for data, because it gives you an overview of the enrollment of the school since 1989. Our school opened up in 1967. So if you look at this chart, it lets you know how over the years there has been a decline and increase in certain populations throughout our school. So from 1989 to 1993, we pretty much have inconclusive data because we really don't know, or they haven't been able to collect the data on what type of students actually were enrolled at that time. But around 1994, you're able to see that we have a high percentage of Caucasian students as well as a high percentage of African American students. And then you'll also see that our Asian population and our Hispanic population is beginning to grow. And most importantly, if you notice, the consistency across this is across the board from 1994 up until about 2015, our Asian population for the most part has pretty much been consistent. There's a slight increase in 2000, but then it goes back to about the same it has been in previous years. But if you also look closely, as our Asian population is is increasing, our Caucasian population is decreasing. We're having a drastic decline over the years, and not only as our Caucasian population is decreasing, our African American population and the Hispanic population is starting to increase in this area as well. So the student enrollment over the years. So in 2007, we had about 869 students. That dropped in 2008 to about 819. In 2009, we had about 792. And you can see over the years that we have a fluctuation in the amount of students that are beginning to enroll in our program. We had a drastic drop from 2010 to 2012. We had 827 students, then all of a sudden we went down to 755. However, between the next 2 years, we went right back up to 831 students to where we are now at a population of 847. So how is this compared? So Babb Middle School approximately, so if you look at the colors, the lighter blue is going to be representing our female students, while the darker blue is going to represent our male students. So what I took the time here is to go ahead and figure out what's the comparison of the gender enrollment, not only for Bath Middle School, but also for other schools that's found in Forest Park, as well as the schools in Georgia as a whole. So if you're looking at this information, you're able to see that our female population for Bath Middle School is slightly lower than it is for, we have slightly less students, female students, than we have male students. However, for Forest Park, they're about equal. So the other Forest Park schools or Forest Park middle schools average about the same amount of female to male ratios. Whereas Georgia, the female to male ratio in other schools with the similar demographics as us, the females rate a little bit lower. So where are these students? Okay, we know that we have a lower population of female students to male students. We know that we have a higher population of Hispanic students compared to Caucasian students and multiracial students. But where are these students located in the different programs that we have in our school? Well, we have about 69.5% of the students who are located, which is approximately 589. They're located in the regular education program. We have 11.8 students who are enrolled in ELL programs, approximately 9.4 students who are enrolled in the gifted programs, and then we have approximately 78 students, not 78%, but 78 students who are enrolled in, who are students with disabilities. With those students and with these 847 students we have enrolled in Bath Middle School, a large percent, pretty much all the students, are eligible for free or reduced lunch. We really have a small percent to no percent of students that's eligible for reduced lunch. Excuse me. And then we have some that's so in comparison to Forest Park in Georgia, you're able to see Forest Park, the area is about the same. You have a large percentage of students that are eligible for free lunch. And then another large percentage that's eligible for free and reduced lunch compared to the state of Georgia, where the state of Georgia is almost 50-50 if you're looking at it that way. All right, so going on and thinking a little bit deeper about the types of students that we have, we then start to think about, well, what are these students doing when they're in school? So we pull up our discipline reports. So our discipline reports show us that these are the different types of infractions that are occurring within our school. And no, it's not a pretty picture. So we don't have as many referrals that we have had in the past. However, with those referrals, one of the main reasons that students are getting in trouble is because of disrespect. So then we have very few fights that are breaking out in the school, but however, that is the next biggest issue that we have. So we have disrespect, whether it's in the classroom, out of the classroom, in the hallways, disrespect from students to students, and disrespect from students to teachers or students to administration. All that's combined. You have your physical offenses, whereas one or more altercations have occurred between students. Disruptive behaviors. You're making the learning environment is no longer conducive because you're interrupting. And then we have some issues, minimum issues where drugs and alcohol have become a big problem. So it's not a big problem, but these are issues that we haven't normally seen in the past amongst middle school students or middle school students at Bath. And then we have very few issues where it comes with skipping on or off campus. So looking at our discipline referrals, we then begin to say, so which grade level has the most discipline issues? So sixth graders, of course you expect that from sixth graders because they're coming in, they're getting acclimated to middle school, they're used to the to more structure in elementary school instead of coming, and then they're coming to middle school realizing, hey, I have a little bit more freedom, and they're now getting used to that. However, there's something that happens hormonal to those students once they hit 7th grade. When they hit 7th grade, it just goes out of whack. And in 8th grade students, we've noticed that by looking at the data, you can see they begin to start to come down, decline, because yes, they're the leaders of the school, but they also now are used to how the system of the school works. And not only how the system of the school works, but they started to mature a little bit. And they're really trying to just get out of middle school. So we've noticed that the majority of our incidents or our referrals are coming from the 7th grade class. So when we're looking at discipline, we know that most of our focus needs to be on ways to get those 7th graders from getting in trouble so much. So in looking at the different issues that we're having with discipline, we also take the time to look at when are these issues and these infractions occurring. So we look at the days of the week. So out of all the office referrals that we've had, our highest percentage of office referrals is happening on Wednesday. So that means now we're trying to figure out what's going on with Wednesday. Is it just that we're restless and we were asleep on Monday, so that's why we didn't get in trouble, and now we're getting through the days of the week? So they're getting in trouble on Wednesday. So now that means we now need to start looking at what are things that we need to do. Is it that on Wednesdays the teachers are more lax because the week is going by? We need to figure out ways to combat that. So the doghouse. We are the Bulldogs. I'll let you know that who we are. So now let's talk about our school as a whole. Where is Babb Middle School? Who are the people of Babb Middle School? All right, so the vision of Babb Middle School is to be the premier middle school in the state of Georgia. Our vision aligns with Clayton County's vision, because the vision of Clayton County Public Schools is to be a district of excellence, preparing all students to live and compete successfully in a global society. However, our mission for Babb Middle School, the mission for Babb Middle School is to provide a safe and orderly learning environment that actively engages all learners and prepares students for colleges, careers, and real-life experiences in an ever-changing world. So if you are ever to come in to our school system and you listen to our announcements, this is the first thing that you're going to hear. If you walk down the hall and say, "Hey, Johnny B, what's the mission of Babb Middle School?" they're going to be able to tell you what it is. So remember, on the other slide, I told you that this is the doghouse. So we have a behavior plan that stands for dogs. So D means to do the right thing, O means to omit distractions, G means to get recognized, and S means to show and receive respect. And all of this stem from the mission of the school as well as the vision of the school. And our mission and our vision align directly with Clayton County's mission and vision of the county itself. So we live by that every day. That's a mantra. So our school is approximately 50 years old. It started off in 1967 as a junior high school and slowly transitioned to what is now Babb Middle School. We have our principal, who is Miss Brenda Ross. She's been our principal there for now this is probably going to her 5th year as principal. Mr. Coates for 4th year, and this is our former assistant principal, Miss Aubrey, and she's now at the county. We have just received a new assistant principal. Her name is Dr. Colbert. I don't have a picture of her, so sorry. Dr. Colbert. This is the main building for our facility, and like I said, it's located in Forest Park, Georgia. We have a, you can't really see it, but the gym is off to the left over, the right over here, and off to the left we have another building in which that's where my classroom resides. It's the newer building compared to the other main portions of the school. All right, so what are some of the student opportunities that we have at Babb Middle School? So, Babb, of course, offers band and orchestra. We have our FCCLA program that's ran by Miss Mitchell, and she's excellent. Miss Mitchell has won all types of awards for the state of Georgia. She's also, I believe, the president for FCCLA for the state of Georgia as well. So she has a lot on her plate. So our students who are in the FCCLA program, they win all kinds of, they're going all year, all the time. So they win all types of prizes for chili cook-offs and things of that nature. It's a big portion of our school. We also offer the Science Olympiad and the Science Club. They also compete throughout the course of the year. We have a math team who also competes throughout the course of the year. We offer high school credit with our physical science EOC course as well as our Algebra 1 EOC course. Extracurricular activities that we offer the students would be football. Our football team won the championship a couple years past. You know, we're trying to rebuild that team back up, so we're still doing pretty good. Our track and field just placed third in the county this past year. Our basketball team, soccer just placed our soccer team won the soccer championship for Clayton County this school year. We have an award-winning dance team called the Dance Dogs. They're always competing and winning state championships as well. And then we also have our swim team. So these are some of the other things outside of academics that we offer our students as well. We have about 55 highly qualified staff members. Of those staff members, we have 11 of our staff who have a bachelor's degree. 31 members have a master's 12 members of our school have a specialist, and we have one person at our school who has a doctorate, and that just so happens to be the new assistant principal. So this is what our staff consists of. Alright, so and off he rumbled to the roundhouse chugging. I cannot. Then indeed the little train was very, very sad, and the dolls and the toys were ready to cry. But the little clown called out, "Here's another engine." So as we look over, going over the data and the discipline and everything in our school, we often get distracted. We often get discouraged, saying, "Hey, we can't do this," but indeed we actually can. So this is sometimes how we start off when we hear new initiatives and we hear new things, and the principals and the admin start to throw new stuff at us. They say, "No, we can't do that. We can't. Well, now we have to start changing our mindset. Instead of saying we can, so back what I said in the beginning, that I think I can. So who let the dogs out? Where have we been? Well, our CCRPI overall school climate says that in 2014 we had a rating of about 80.9 for our school climate score. In 2015 we had a rating of 83.3, and in 2016 you'll see that we're beginning to increase. So each year we're increasing slightly, about 3% from 2014 to 15, and we have a drastic increase from 83.3 to 90.2 in 2016. So our goal is to keep going. Keep going. No longer say I cannot, I think I can, but I can. I think I can. So looking at our CCRPI scores in comparison to the state average, you'll see that the blue is our overall, and then the red is the overall for state. So if you look at 2012, our overall CCRPI score is 74. But if I'm looking at the state average, it was 73.8. So Babb Middle School as a whole had a 2/10 higher than the state average. However, we go down to 2013, you'll see that we dropped about 10 points. So in 2013, we had a 64 and 4/10, CCRPI score in 2013, whereas the state average was 74 and 6/10. So then you'll see in 2014, we're starting to go back to our gradual increase. We increased to 71.7, but we were still slightly lower than the state because the state had 73 and 8/10. 2015, we dropped from our 71 and 7/10 to 70.5, but as we dropped, the state dropped as well. So we were still slightly lower than the state. And come 2016, we have almost met our highest point, which was in 2012 at 74, but we're back at 73.6. So not only did we increase, the state slightly increased, but as we were increasing, we now are higher than the state average for CCRPI. So if you look over the course of the years, for the most part, we've been right neck and neck with the state except for year 2013. And we have not had that drastic of a decline since then, and prayerfully we will not have that drastic of a decline in the future. So we're normally about neck and neck with the state, or a couple of tenths off. So right now we're above the state's average. So if I'm comparing my CCRPI scores, like parents often do as they're looking around for places to enroll their students, if I'm looking at other schools or the other middle schools in Clayton County, you'll see where Babb is not too far behind. Elite Scholars has the highest CCRPI score. I believe they had about a 99 point something for their CCRPI score. And Roberts Middle School, and if you notice, those are the schools that we compete with. So when we're looking for things, we're trying to make sure that we're beating Elite Scholars and we're beating MD Roberts, and that's the same one they're in as well. Those are our rivals, if you want to say. So if you look at Roberts, I think Roberts had like an 86 score, something like that, if I remember correctly. But we're neck and neck. We're not in the 80 percentile, that's our goal, but we're right on their tail. We're right on their tail. So this is where we are in comparison to the other schools in Clayton County. Other middle schools in Clayton County. So now we keep going on. So now we know what our school's climate score was about. We know what our CCRPI was. Now we need to get an opportunity to see where are the kids doing academically. Where did they stand academically? So if I'm looking at my 6th grade scores, and you'll notice that I do not have the previous years prior to 2015, because 2014 was the implementation year, and that was where we were trying to just get all the kinks and things worked out with administering the GMAS. So those scores were not provided to us from administration. However, we do have the scores for the next years. So if you look at the color coding, you'll see that the lighter blue is for beginning learners. The lighter red is going to be your developing, your proficient, and then your distinguished. So in the 6th grade ELA, we had a large percentile in 2015 and a large percentile in 2016 students that were considered developing, beginning. And then the same thing, you'll see that we have about 31 and 32 that were considered developing, proficient, and distinguished. So for the last couple of years administering the 6th grade ELA, they've pretty much been consistent. The only difference is we had a decline in our number of the students that were considered distinguished in both years in ELA. So looking at the math percentile score for when we first started out in 2015, you'll notice that our beginning students were about 29%, and then we had about 46% that were considered developing. We had about 20% that was considered proficient. But if you looking at the data, it's like, oh Lord, they're not really doing that well. However, if you come over here, you'll see that, hey, our proficient level has increased. So even though in 2015, in 2016, it looks as if, well, you have more students that are considered beginning than they were the year beforehand. That might be very well, but our goal is to have the students to be proficient and above. So we noticed that in 2016, we have more students that were indeed considered proficient on the math portion of the GMAS. And then we come to science. My favorite subject, however, is not the favorite subject of the students, and it shows in the testing. So whereas we're seeing a slight increase in other areas such as math and such as ELA, we're not really seeing that increase that much in science. So we're looking at the first year of testing, of true testing in 2015, we have about 48% that were considered beginning. However, that did decline to about 40 in 2016. Your developing students were about 23 in 2015 and about 31 in 2016, whereas your distinguished students and your proficient students, they pretty much ranked about the same. 6th grade social studies. You'll notice that from year 2015 to year 2016, there was a decrease in beginning learners, so that was awesome. So not only was there a decrease in beginning learners, your developing learners were about the same. However, what we're looking for is proficient, because we want all of our students to be proficient in their academic areas. So you'll notice that not only did the beginning students go down from 2015 to 2016, but your proficient level learners also went up, as well as your distinguished level learners. So you'll see that social studies are making some advances to increasing their scores. So moving on to 7th grade. 7th grade math. Remember, this was the area that I told you that this is the grade that all the students, there we go. This is the grade level where the discipline report starts to go up with your students. And you can kind of see that within looking at the data for their scores, because here's the thing, if they're not in class, there's no way that they can get that information, and it shows in their GMAS testing scores. So you'll notice that in 2015, your beginning learners for ELA was about 39%. The good thing about that is, even with the discipline referrals of 2016, that beginning level went down and your developing level went up a little bit. Not only did your developing level go up a little bit, so did your proficient level and your distinguished. So even though they have a high rate, so just imagine if they weren't in trouble, what the difference of their GMAS scores could have been, because they were actually in class getting that information. Looking at the math scores, you had a higher level of students that were considered developing and beginning in 2015. They dropped a little bit in 2016. The excellent thing about that is, not only did those developing beginning levels drop in 2016, but they also increased with the proficiency levels. So you had about 8 more students more than you did, or 8% more than you did in 2015 and 2016 that performed higher, as well as your distinguished students for the math GMAS. Your science, again, my favorite subject, but the students don't feel the same. So your beginning learners for science in 7th grade, is 43% in 2015. It was reduced a little bit to 39. You have 31 for developing, 27 for developing 2016. Your proficient level did increase in 2016 from the year prior before, which was 2015. So you did see the proficiency level as well as your distinguished level did increase. And all increases are good increases. 7th grade social studies. Same thing. You had a higher level of students that were considered beginning, and then a higher level that were considered developing. So the one thing about it is your beginning level started to decrease. However, your developing level was about the same, but with your developing level being about consistent from year to year, your proficiency level and your distinguished levels increase, and that's always what we're looking for. We want our students to be considered proficient or distinguished, meaning they're actually getting and understanding the information and retaining that information that was taught to them over the course of the year. So going into the grade, I'm not going to say the grade that counts, but the grade that means I need you to go on and you're ready for high school. So, looking at our 8th grade students, this is, when you get your points for the school, you're getting your points from your 8th grade class. So, 8th grade class for all subject areas, rather. So, I'm looking at the beginning learners for ELA. Our beginning learners is 28% in 2015, and then it's 20. It also went down. So, you'll also notice that our developing learners, meaning they're getting it, but they're not quite where they need to be at. These are students that we need to be focusing on, or the students that need to be focused on when they hit high school. So your proficiency levels have increased, minimal increase, and then your distinguished levels for ELA has pretty much stayed the same. Math, we have a good increase in our developing level, slight increase in proficiency level, but the one thing here we notice that we have a decline in our distinguished learners, whereas in 2015 we had about 5% that were considered distinguished. Now in 2016, that's dropped down to 1%. So now we need to figure out, what's happening? Did the teachers change? What's going on for us to have that decline in a much needed academic area? Our science GMAT scores, same thing. They're pretty much consistent. However, you notice that instead of our beginning level learners going down, there was an increase in 2016. Our developing levels learners pretty much stayed the same, and not only was there an increase in our beginning learners, there was also a decrease in our proficiency learners as well as a decrease in our distinguished learners. So these are things that we need to focus on. So looking at the data, we've noticed thus far that there's a trend in science. Their scores, instead of them increasing as they should, they're beginning to take a decline, and that's not what we want. So going into our high school courses, for high school, the students can take for high school credit, we have Algebra 1. So if you're looking at those students that's taking Algebra 1, there was like a 4% students that rated beginning, but guess what? When you look at 2016, what do you see? 0, meaning that's excellent. No student was considered a beginning level learner. So not only did that increase, but that means our developing learner increased, because what happens to those students when they were considered beginning? And they're no longer beginning, but they're also now moving towards developing, correct? So that means now we need to work on those 4 students that went, well, the 6% that now are included in that development portion. Now we need to get them over here in the proficiency level. Now the good thing, well, the bad thing about it is, with that being said, the majority of our students in our 2015 year, they were considered proficient. But look at the difference. What do you see with the proficiency and the distinguished level? There's a major increase in our distinguished level, whereas there's a drastic decrease in proficient. But that's okay, because guess what? Those students were moved on to the distinguished level. So that's a plus that we've seen. We want to keep doing whatever we've been doing to make those students continue to make those gains. Same thing here with physical science. Physical science has always been an area where it was never really consistent. The students might do well one year, and then the next year they might not do so well. And you see that in the data here. So we had a low level of beginning learners, but that level of beginning learners increased in 2016. So instead of it making a decline, that increased. Instead of our developing learners making a decline, well, they actually did make a decline, but also when they made a decline, so did our proficient learners. However, the good thing about that is, if you look at that, maybe those proficient learners did what? They became distinguished. So our distinguished learners did increase a little bit. So looking at the overall GMAT scores of Babb Middle School as a whole compared to the county and compared to the state, we have areas in which that we need to work on, because when we're comparing ourselves to the state, we're pretty much behind. Because if you look at the state, meaning in math, we're considerably behind in math. We're, well, not considerably, we're ahead of Clayton County, but we're still behind the state. In English Language Arts, we're behind the state. Good thing is we're ahead of Clayton County. In science, we're behind the state, ahead of Clayton County, and in social studies, we're almost neck and neck with the state, but we're still behind the state and we're still ahead of Clayton County. But even with us being ahead of Clayton County and behind the state, we're still considered extremely low. So that's something that we need to work on. We need to focus on these GMAT scores. So, reading this data, slowly they started off. The toy clown jumped aboard, and all the dolls and toys began to smile and cheer. Puff, puff. Chug, chug went the little blue engine. I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. So now we're looking at the data and we're seeing that, hey, there's the things that we can do that's we're making, or things that we are doing that positive changes. So now our mindset is beginning to change to I can't do it, to I think I can. So what are some of the achievement gaps that we need to attack? Well, we notice that there are large achievement gaps in ELA in regards to male and female students. And in math, our female students and our male students, our math are pretty much about neck and neck. So the gap that we need to fix, we need to start working on what's happening with our male students in the area of ELA, because that's an area. If I'm looking at gaps in regards to ethnicity, even though our Hispanics are a large population, or take the largest population within our school, if you're looking at them compared to your Asians, there's an achievement gap. If I'm looking at them and compared to my multiracial students, and notice, remember my multiracial students only take up about 2% of our school, there's an achievement gap there. So there are gaps pretty much across the board. So now we know, and if you look at it in comparison to Babb Middle School's average, your Asian population and your multiracial populations and even your Caucasian population as outranking Babb Middle School as a whole. And then the red represents ELA and then math. So still looking at the data, my mind still is still, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, because even though I notice that I have areas in which there are achievement gaps, I know that we have discipline problems, I still know that there's things that we can do to improve those issues. So now it's an uphill battle, because remember, I think I can, I think I can. So what is our plan to improve? So, what is our plan to improve? So what we're doing is, this is a picture of us gathering and getting our stakeholders together and getting our committees together to figure out what is it that we're going to do for Babb Middle School to address these achievement gaps. What are we going to do to address this discipline issue? What are we going to do to address the concerns that we see? So we got together, we hashed it out. It kind of looks like we're ready to go, because I believe we had been there a long time. So these are some of the things. These are some of the things that we came up with. So, we got together, we worked on our school improvement plan process. So what did we do? We had collaborative meetings. We had to identify what the areas or what the problem was. We then created our SMART goals and started brainstorming school initiatives of how we're going to address those SMART goals. So our goal number one, we noticed that within our meeting that our biggest area of concern was science. Science was our biggest area of concern, because that was one of the main subjects that was not having the increase that we felt that it should have over the course of the years. So what we decided was, and baseline. So each of our goals are based on science. So there will be an increase in the percentage of 6th grade students in the areas of developing and above on the district assessment. So notice that it says district assessment and not GMAS because there's no longer a GMAS for science. So instead of us testing it for the GMAS, we now have to take the district assessment. So our baseline started off with 52. So where our goal is to increase 3% because that's attainable. So we're going to go to 53.56 in 2017. Our goal for 2018 is 55 and 17 tenths. And our goal for 2019 is 56 and 83 tenths. Even though these scores are not considered passing, we have to start somewhere. So of course we want a higher gain, but we have to make it attainable for our students. Same thing for 7th grade. We want our students to increase by 3% of developing and above on the district assessment. So our baseline is 60.6. So even though 7th grade had the higher discipline rating, they have the higher average as far when it comes to scoring on the science assessment. So our baseline is 60.6. Eventually our goal is to get to 66.12 in 2019 and make that gradual increase. Remember, 8th grade is your testing year. So this is the year that it counts for the students, and not only does it count for the students, it counts for the teachers, not the teachers, but it counts for the school as well. Well, the teachers. There will be an increase in percentage of 8th grade students in the areas of developing and above on the physical science Georgia milestones assessment. So notice that it changed from district assessment to the milestones because this is what's actually counting. So our baseline score is 52.7. Our goal for 2019 is to make it a 57.59. In order to reach that each year, we need to have a 3% increase. Again, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. We have our goals in place. We now, our mindsets are beginning to change because now we know that more than likely we can actually do this. We can get our kids where they need to be. So how so? So our initiative, science content teachers will utilize the ACE reading strategy as a uniform approach to answering constructive and extended response questions. For those who don't know, ACE stands for Answer, Cite, and Explain. So this is an initiative that was started off with the ELA teachers. So we decided to use that because we're trying to get writing across the curriculum. So if you can read it, you can write it, you can understand it, you can get your point across in your explanations. So not only will we implement this in science, but we're also going to implement it in the other subject areas. But right now our focus is on science because that's the area in which we see the most issues. In order to do so, we're going to plan opportunities for students to participate in a minimum of 1 lab per week and 1 field trip per 9 weeks. So now what's going to happen is, remember we said our initiative is the ACE strategies. So their 1 lab per week, their lab has a lab write-up. So within that lab write-up, they must utilize the ACE strategy to get it done. With your field trips, now the field trips is providing them to have those hands-on activities with the material that they're learning in class. So not only, we still tie it back to the ACE strategy. So when you come back to class, yes, you had fun, you got to play with it. So now you're going to write about it. Write about some of the things that you experienced on the field trip. Write how that relates to the subject or the topic that we're talking about in class. We're going to be incorporating more technology and the use of thinking maps in your weekly lesson plan. So if it's in your lesson plan, that means when I come into your classroom, it should be able to be seen that you're using those strategies in class as well. So we're going to, prior to the start of the year, we're going to gather all the content science teachers and attend a professional development course for the new initiative of incorporating the ACE strategy. Alright, so the other action step, number 2, is science content teachers will incorporate the ACE strategy into the daily science starter practices. So basically what this means is, when I give you a warm-up, you're basically going to have maybe like one warm-up or one question. You answer the question and you utilize the ACE strategy to help you answer it or solve it. So it's not going to be any more of the multiple choice type questions. They're going to be short response questions. Another action step we're going to implement is science content teachers will bring a student sample from each period to bi-weekly grade level meetings, show and review implementation process and strategies of the ACE, strategies of using the ACE strategy. So this pretty much means I'm not going to just take your word for it. I need evidence that you're actually implementing this in the classroom. So when we have our bi-weekly meetings, you're going to bring in at least one piece of data from each class period that you have, and then it'll be different students each time because, you know, we like to pick our favorite kids. And then, or the best work. And then lastly, the administration team will facilitate monthly data talks. So now we're going to bring the administration and hold them accountable as well, so they can make sure that they're holding us accountable. So we're all working together. So within our data talks, this means is now how is our data reflected now that we're incorporating this A strategy? How is our data changing? Is there some adjustments that we need to do in order to make ourselves move into the right direction? So what's our future goals? Our future goals are as follows. We're going to continue to implement the A strategies not only in science but in all content areas. Each grade level is going to increase. Notice I said it's going to increase a minimum of 3%. We're going to continue to use the PBIS initiative to address those discipline problems, because discipline can directly relate to your issues with scores. Because if the students aren't in class, there's no way that they can get the information. And we're going to make sure that we reach our visions of becoming the best middle school in the state of Georgia. So puff, puff, chug, chug went the little blue engine. I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. Up, up, up. Faster and faster and faster and faster. The little engine climbed until at last it reached the top of the mountain. So this solidifies the whole thing. So we continue to say, I think I can. We continue to work with those students. We'll eventually reach the top of the mountain and reach the goals that we have set for our school, and to reach our vision of becoming the best middle school in the state of Georgia. My name is Tiffany Riley. Thank you for your